Posted earlier a community post in which you can see these slides in detail, but I thought I would go over them in detail too, and then maybe talk about kind of the timeline as well. But basically, I've just been addressing everything to the FBI now because they're the ones that need to hear it, but I started off with the post saying that a bunch of the screenshots that were collected was from an individual or several individuals who have repeatedly engaged in deceptive online behavior surrounding the ongoing homicide investigations between, the Stephensons and the Delphi murders. And their actions demonstrate a consistent pattern of identity fabrication, narrative manipulation, cryptic signaling, and targeted harassment. And so there's no direct allegation of homicide being made towards these individuals, but that they have engaged in activities that have potential to mislead investigators, re-traumatize the victims, and contaminate public discourse and or obstruct justice. I think these things need to be brought to attention. So, I took some notes just to be able to go over everything. So, Exhibit 1 is going over screenshots that were taken in March of 2024, and I presume it's around the 24th or 25th of March that these are taken, but a Reddit account is created and shows up in the Stephenson case, the Stephenson subreddit, and they're calling themselves Taste OK 9030, and of course you reduce 90 and 30 down and you get 93. That's another interesting rabbit hole. But so this person comes in with a username TasteOK 9030, claiming to be the great-granddaughter of Bill and Peggy Stephenson, who were murdered brutally in May 2011, late May 2011. And this account, the person says, "Hello, my name is Addie, but you can call me Star. I have joined this because I recently found out what happened to my great-grandparents back in 2011 when they were murdered. I was only a baby." So in 2024, if she was a baby, like brand new baby in 2011, she would have been 13 years old by the time she's posting this. And of course, the online radicalization series is going to get into 13 eventually, but, right now we're just taking it a day at a time. So I'll finish reading this post, but it says, so back in 2011 when they were murdered, I was only a baby. I somehow found several posts on Facebook talking about their murder, although I was stunned. I never was told how they died. I always assumed it was from old age, but it clearly wasn't that. They were murdered. The fact that this case still goes unsolved today makes my blood boil, because how someone could have gotten away with such a crime. This has affected my family so much, and has now greatly affected me. I still miss my great-grandparents, Bill and Peggy, and love them dearly. May the murderer of them live forever with their guilt. So this is interesting because what is pointed out here with the highlighting is just that, like, the name Addie and Star on top of Taste OK is very age inappropriate. But then the underlined here is unlikely syntax for a 13-year-old, right? Like, what 13-year-old really uses Facebook? Maybe. I don't know. But have you ever heard a 13-year-old that wasn't a genius say, like, I was stunned? I always assumed. Clearly wasn't that. The fact that still goes unsolved today, makes my blood boil, now greatly affected me. May the murderer of them forever live with their guilt. Yeah, it's kind of unlikely, right? So we see immediately that there is this account that comes in and this account that comes in within hours, making controlled responses to this sock puppet account, because there is no great-granddaughter of Bill and Peggy Stephenson that is 13 years old at this time. And the syntax is too polished for a child, and this is an impersonation pretending to be a child that doesn't exist. But the reason that they're pretending to be a child relative of these people is to gain sympathy and authority, right? Because, you know, when you don't have moderators everywhere in perfect niche places, you know, you can't have full control of the narrative, right? So, let's see, I have to read my handwriting here. Other accounts, yeah, so these are other accounts. They quickly validated the sock puppet, showing controlled responses, and right away you see the playbook. Fabricate an identity, okay? Fabricate an identity and then reinforce it. So that's the first slide. Let's go to the second. Okay. And I blurred out all these things because, I mean, I'm still going to probably get harassment for this. But, you know, I have all the unredacted shit, so the FBI can, you know, do what they want with it. Assuming they do anything. So, Exhibit 2, this is this person who is likely behind the Taste OK account, who also came in and commented. Let me go back on this. Commented here, but is also likely pretending to be the Taste OK account. This person comes 6 days later and does a video, and I don't know because it's been removed as of, you know, today, the 6th of September. There's no way to access it, so I don't know if it was I think it was a live because it says StreamYard on here. But whatever the case is, I don't know what he talks about, what they talk about, but there is this damage control video that comes out, and it's deflecting away from the Taste OK issue because it's causing kind of an uproar. And then it goes into how there are other, I forget what was told to me, that possibly like a podcast is doing alt accounts or pretending to have, or having sock puppet accounts and doing something, and that may be real too, but it's definitely trying to deflect away from the fact that this person was likely engaging in sock puppetry. So, and the name of the stream was "Oh Boy, Do I Have Some Tea to Spell." That was the 30th of March. So then, by April the 8th of 2024, so about a week later, Alex Voorhies contacts Coy Cox, Detective Coy Cox of Boone County, Kentucky, who was in charge of the Stephenson's investigation, the murder investigation. He is maybe now retired, or should be by the end of the year. But Alex was, you know, on texting terms, obviously, with Coy Cox at this time. And he says, "I got 2 hot leads for you. I'm a mod at Stephenson's subreddit, and someone tried pretending to be Stephenson's great-granddaughter to wedge info. I think it's so-and-so. But regardless," and then I had to cut it off. There, you can find the full screenshots of the text messages in Alex's Delphi and Stephenson crime archive, which will be linked in the description of this video, but it's also linked on that community post that has all of these screenshots as well. So then the info is, there's a first name, the person is 42 years old, all of this. And then Alex goes on to tell Cox, this guy's been tipped in a lot on the Delphi side too. He's been doxing and harassing female informants as of recent. Well, that's interesting because, you know, he's still up to that. So, and then Cox just responds, let's see, that was at 2:16 a.m. This is at 4:48, so it's about 2 hours later. Jeez. But he says, well, we will work on it. Thanks for the info. So that's what that's about. Now, we're going to be jumping all over the place because these are following kind of a thematic thing, not a chronological thing. So we have this person impersonating a 13-year-old, right? Back in March of 2024. Now we have this person, allegedly, because, you know, until proven otherwise, but allegedly with very good, you know, circumstantial evidence, we have a person impersonating a federal agent, right? Federal officer. So, I'm not going to name names, but this person, this impersonator, is basically harassing a investigative journalist, and the investigative journalist released this article. So that I think this confidential report on the investigative journalist came out before June 16th. But basically what happened was there was this document, this confidential document, which profiled this investigative journalist and tried to discredit him, acting like he was crazy and that he was insecure and suffering from psychosis and all this kind of stuff, right? So basically, like, the investigative journalist then wrote an article about it called Project Phantom Scrivener, a case study in amateur psychological operations. And, you know, with the subtext here, a clumsy psyop tried and failed to undermine a real investigation. So this person that is doing the impersonation impersonated an intelligence officer by fabricating a purported confidential profile targeting an investigative journalist reporting on the Stephenson case, demonstrating a willingness to adopt law enforcement or intelligence personas, manufacture false documents, and discredit legitimate inquiry. So, you know, that they're escalating. They are fabricating a whole confidential profile. I think it's like 6, 7, 8 pages. So it's trying to look official, stamped with confidential, uses a lot of bureaucratic and academic language to smear the journalist. And it's a huge leap as far as the impersonating of, you know, pretending to be a sock puppet, or being a sock puppet account of a pretend relative of the Stephensons, of the murdered Stephensons. But then, you know, now it's all the way up to pretending to be an intelligence officer, a federal authority. So, we'll go to the next one. Let's see. Okay. Yeah, this is why I wanted to go over it, because the way that I do these things can get kind of smushed. And the reason that I get smushed is because I only have so many slides that I can do. So I always worry that I'm not going to have enough, and I probably could have divvied this up, but so Exhibit 4, we're going to also be moving back in time, and thematically we're going to be looking now at how this person likes to use riddles and nonsensical phrases and all sorts of, like, I don't know what you would call it. It's like cryptic signaling or something. It's like code challenges or something. So we're going to be moving back in time, with the most recent being the late 2023, early 2024. This is left in a response to the YouTube channel Art of Deduction, which I don't think is around anymore. but it's Dutch Frank's channel. So first there's this, the highlighted Scuffle Group Penguin loves eating 7 salads. Okay. You know. And now there's this cipher here, which is a relatively easy one because, you know, Caesar cipher. Okay. And it basically, this translates to, if you figure this out, you have all of my respect with that mighty brain of yours. Now go put it to good use. Very condescending, obviously, and meant for Frank, Dutch Frank, and his channel Art of Deduction. Then there's this cipher, could not get through. There might be a Lord Mark or something that is a, I forget what you call that, like a key to this, but yeah. And you know, I'm not gonna spend all my life trying to figure this stuff out for when it's just this kind of bullshit, right? So, moving back in time, okay. So this was left like probably in the winter of 23-24. Now in December, going back like 2 or 3 years, 2 years if it's 2023. We're going to the 19th of December 2021. And this gets weirdly pointed out to Alex through one of the friends of the person that loves to do these kind of things, right? So the person that's friends with this person is telling Alex, hey, go check out that weird IMDb stuff. It's weird that there's these back-to-back reviews for the film The Shack, and it's 10 days after the Anthony Shots press release, because that's released on the 9th of December 2021. So this is the 19th of December 2021, and you have Richard Batten, which kind of looks like the TTIN, kind of looks like it could be ALLEN, if you have bad eyesight. And then we have Alan. And both of these are critiquing the film in a atheistic way. They are, you know, kind of mocking the God element to it. So, that's interesting, right? Maybe nothing, but it is kind of in line with what we see once we start really looking into this character, right? So, then we go back, probably, what is that? It's the 12th to the... So we go back 7 months on the 19th of May, 2021, and there's this... I don't even know if it's truly hacked, but what people like to call Libby's Twitter account is hacked, and someone leaves this. Okay, and keep in mind, Libby had been dead for... let's see, this was 2017, so 4 years. She had been dead for 4 years. And somebody came in and wrote, the Shia, the mid-14th century, caused the Little Bighorn National Monument in the past. So, of course, we could go over that a lot because it's redundant. Like, we already know it's in the past and stuff, and then it's not correct historically. But, you know, it's just, it's a show. It's a show to get attention, a show of power, whatever. So, but it's this nonsensical language similar to the Scuffle Group Penguin loves eating 7 salads. Of course, this makes a little bit more sense, but still, it's the same idea, right? It's either people copying each other, people that hang out with each other, it's something, right? So then, if we go back, what is that? So it's the 5th month to, well, no, because that would be like a year. So yeah, so it's like a year and 5 months to February the 23rd of 2020. There is an anonymous 4chan post that references a Richard and also uses cryptic language and syntax. So it says, what you all fail to interpret about small town civics is the manner in which something because it's, fall into each other in a public square. One cannot find happiness or fortitude with a simple game and keep their daughters safe from such predators. This man will get away with everything. I didn't want to come out and say it, but I lived in Delphi for years, and without a doubt Richard is not well known in the town. I have been monitoring the thread. So, a lot of similarities. And what did I write? Did I write anything? It's all designed, it's like clever puzzle making, pseudo-intellectual posturing, and designed to look like inside knowledge. So now we have Exhibit 5, and this one is also confusing because we're probably going to be moving, well, we'll see, because, so we have this individual who, as of, just a month ago, basically because we're in early September right now, so in early August of 2025, this person very publicly went to the Black Hat Cybersecurity Convention, which is one of the biggest cybersecurity conventions, I think, in the world, but let me see, did I look that up? Yeah, biggest cybersecurity conferences in the world, so it's not like just for casual gamers, it's like, what does it say? I took some of the stuff that they had labeled in their advertisement. Learn latest risks and trends from security experts from around the world, providing technical skill building to offensive and defensive hackers of all levels, covering applied security, exploit development, malware, and more. Evaluate a broad range of security products and solutions. So, that's interesting because, we also know that if you're familiar with this photo, and I've blurred out 3 of the individuals, but if you all are familiar with this photo, this person in the middle is deceased, okay? But these 2 people are still around. And all 3 of these people, they were individuals with skills in digital manipulation. One of them is a coder, one of them is a videographer, and they all do good videos, in a sense. So, and somebody that's not pictured here is, potentially the guy that created the Rick Allen Justice website, the brains behind that one, Mr. Robots 213. So all of these individuals are skilled in creating and altering digital content systems, access, data exploitation, video production, and editing. So all of those things. So I found it very interesting because considering that this person on their page has at least a very comprehensive 3-part series, very well done, of boots on the ground, walking the whole area, driving through the whole area where the girls were killed. And it was originally shot in December of 2020. So there's aerial footage. You can tell this person's very interested in what other people have found and leaves a comment. This video is from the 30th of May 2021, and then the person that we're covering here asks, can you please put your RTV6 footage back up? So, and they are close friends with Indie Archive, because I do recall them talking about, showing Indie Archive footage, because I remember complimenting them and saying, wow, that's really good, and them saying, oh, this isn't mine, but I was given permission to use it. So I do remember that. Now, this person has taken down, most of their YouTube stuff. So the only people that would be able to access would be the people that, had a warrant to do so, assuming it's not gone. So all of these are clues as to what somebody could have contributed to making a Roblox. If you have a lot of this stuff, a lot of the aerial footage, a lot of the boots on the ground, and video footage that you've taken yourself, you've walked it yourself, besides, the helicopter footage from, I think, like the news networks and Indie Archive and whatever other drone people have of that area, you're building a good surveillance of the land. It's like a survey, you're making a pretty good map of the land. And why would that be important? This is speculation, so allegedly. And I'm happy to be wrong, because I don't want people to be bad people, necessarily. But if, for instance, one was interested in as much of this stuff as they are, obviously, with the lay of the land, it would be useful to have all of that footage and that knowledge to help build the terrain for Roblox. Because what we'll have to go into later is that Roblox is a very, I guess, like, integrative game where you have to build everything. And yeah, we'll have to go into it because I need to understand the terminology better and stuff, so yeah. But basically, you would need somebody to build up the terrain of the Roblox, okay? And so this person then is confronted April 24th, 2022 by somebody saying, take your stupid car turn off. And I think car turn is supposed to be cartoon. So take your stupid cartoon off of the Abby and Libby page. And that might be like a Reddit page, or maybe it's a Facebook page. I'm sure that at least 3 of your friends encouraged you and told you it was good. It is not. It is an insult to everything that has happened the last 5 years. Take it down, and you're a creep for putting it on there. And then this person says, what are you talking about? Of course, always playing the, what are you talking about? I have no idea. So, why would one build a Roblox? Why do that reenactment? Well, if Roblox is coming out in late 21, early 2022, it would be to kind of distract from the resurfacing suspicions of an online grooming network because of the Anthony Shots press release is released in December 2021, December 9th, 2021. So all of that is, bringing the focus back to, was this an online grooming network? And putting out the Roblox is cementing that it's a lone wolf. Still with Bridge Guy. Okay? So, now we have the 6th exhibit. This is basically to show that, yes, this is direct harassment. This happens late June 2025, both to myself and to Alex and his whole family, basically. His mother, his stepfather, his father, his stepmother, and his brother. All of this information, where they work, their phone numbers, their addresses, their social media accounts, email addresses, all of that kind of stuff. I showed that I had this from my divorce records put out there, which reveals financial information and just, normal divorce stuff. But, actually, we had a very amiable, I guess, divorce, so it was, it's tame. But then they also included my actual address. My address is listed in here too, by the way. But then it includes the address, age, phone number, places, past places of residences, email addresses, family members, all of that kind of stuff. So there's more to it, but I didn't want to make it into just about me. but just show that, like, this is the kind of escalation that it goes to, okay? So this is just, all of Exhibit 7 is also going to be personal for me just because I have access to it. This was the report that I'm waiting to get processed. The most recent one, a false tip was made against myself, stating I played a video containing or depicting CSTAM on my YouTube channel and Light in the Dark. I would like to have in writing the full report, particularly the origin of the report, who specifically tipped me in, and that there was in fact no finding of CSAM on my YouTube channel. So this was an attempted swatting that happened on the 19th of August, 2025, so a couple weeks ago. And luckily, because I am a female living by myself, and females tend to be, you know, better able to, like, report things when they're getting harassed, I had kept a very good record of all the times I had been harassed to the police. And so when they showed up with 2 female detectives, very nice. Both of them seemed kind of irritated to be there because it was a waste of their time. And they asked, oh, can we see your computer? And I was like, yeah. And they didn't stay for the whole video. I had to, like, go to the part that could have been CSAM yeah, we won't go into that. But you see what I'm saying, that it escalated from, I should have started with this other stuff, but it escalated from receiving, like, a harassing parcel, or whatever it's called on the federal, whatever you have to, I forget the names of everything, but the harassing parcel was what I could find for the technical term, that was delivered to my house in December 2024, postmarked in November, but, you know, it came to my house, so they knew my address by then, right? But that was 2024, December. Then I get death threats on the 10th of May. You know, Prof and Adrian, why would so-and-so and so-and-so do this? And then Adrian and Robin. And in a YouTube short, this person has, I have the short, they took it down, but I have several, I have most of their shorts actually. But they put my house there. They put pictures of me and my ex-husband and me and Alex in those shorts. So, yeah, all of this stuff, and this was in June, I want to say June, July-ish, maybe May, June, or July of this year, those different shorts, and then it escalated to an attempted swatting on the 19th of August. So, it's escalating, guys. Like, that's why, like, if nobody's gonna do anything about it, I'm gonna make a video on it so that there's a record of it, okay? So, yeah, and then we'll go to this last exhibit. So, yeah, this is just the brigading. I have, like, numerous stuff from Twitter that people have sent me, but this was a really good show of it because it was like, I want to play a game with 33 comments, or 33 thumbs up and 13 comments. I mean, it's just, it's pretty perfect, you know? And all of these people kind of egging them on, you know? And the people that I think need to be looked into, I did not blur out their names. So, do with that what you will. Did I get everything out that I wanted to talk about? Hopefully everything makes sense. If not, again, I'm happy to answer questions. So yeah, I guess when we put everything together, this is a consistent pattern, just with this individual, right? The false identities, the pretending to be the victim relative or an intelligence officer, narrative control, the projection, deflection, damage control, cryptic signaling, riddles and codes, case entanglement, tying themselves to both Delphi and the Stephensons. Whatever's up with Delphi and the Stephensons, they're connected because these people have made themselves connected. Harassment, the doxing, the threats, the parcels, the swatting, the brigading. So, yeah, if all of this was random, like, would somebody really go and fabricate official-looking documents? And, like, why would you risk impersonating a victim's family members or even federal agents? Why escalate into real-world threats? And now, again, I want to drive this home. If I had been, like, a dude living by myself, and, as a dude, sometimes they get it in their heads that, like, oh, I don't need to report things because I'm a dude and macho. And no, I don't care how macho you are. Do what is best for everybody in this situation and keep a detailed record, because if I had been a guy that did not report any of this shit, can you imagine, like, what do you think cops like doing to people that are, like, getting tipped in for looking at kid porn? What do you think? Like, cops have a hard enough day as it is. They are looking to shit on someone. So yeah, I mean, like, you don't want to be a weirdo, creepy guy living by yourself that gets tipped in for CSAM. Especially with the climate these days and how flippin' angry everybody is. So, yeah, it could have ended badly. But luckily, I'm a loudmouth and a tattletale, and I'll fucking tell on you every chance I get. Because, guess what? I want out of this, and you've made my life miserable. But, again, I'm combating that because I do find joy. You can't take it all away from me, guys. So, and that's not to say to the actual good people out there, you guys have really elevated, like, the space and made it at least somewhat enjoyable from time to time. But the rest of these people, I think we're dealing with flipping criminals, allegedly. We shall see, but we need the FBI to investigate them. So, let's see, I was going to address some things about narrative control. Well, yeah, it's about control over the narrative, control over what the public sees, who gets silenced, basically, and the FBI needs to investigate these behaviors, not just because they mislead and re-traumatize families, but because they actively obstruct justice. And until that happens, the truth about Delphi and the Stephensons will remain buried under layers of deception and harassment, because that's all it is. Everything about Delphi is a lie. So, just find something interesting to put it on, I guess. I'll just put it there. So, yeah, I did want to quickly address some of the timeline. So, and why I believe the timeline we've been given is completely wrong. Apart from, many dozens of excellent content creators out there that are either still here, online, on a platform somewhere, and making good content, or who have gotten scared off and gone away. Rightfully so, because they're not masochistic. So, yeah, they got sick of dealing with sadists. But a ton of people have figured this out before I have, alright? So, this is just me begging a federal government institution to do something. Like, Farency, you've already had a lot of your guys killed. You've had Farency. Look at all the other guys that are like, you know, even if they're not federal agents, they are, they wear the uniform. You know? If you don't want to do it for the peons, then do it for your brothers in arms. Sisters in arms. So, yeah, why the timeline is completely wrong. We'll start with the basics. When was the last time Libby and Abby were independently seen alive? And not by family, but by neutral witnesses. Because do we even have anybody saying where they were Saturday? Let alone Sunday. Right? Because Saturday there's rumors of some sort of, sleepover? But I would say, like, the thing that I would trust would be, like, from their friends that they hang out with. And we've never really heard from their friends or the friends that they were over at the sleepover with. So the last, in my opinion, now somebody can correct me because you guys know the case better than I do, but the last neutral sighting was Friday, February 10th at school, in my opinion. And after that, everything seems to count on family accounts, at least for Libby. Like, Abby might have hung out with her grandfather or whatever, but with Libby, it's, you know, it's up in the air. So that strikes me as a huge issue, obviously. Also, Kelsey, you know, there's no way that we can keep keeping Kelsey's name out of our mouths. Kelsey's name has to be out there because she's not only related to the one of the victims and, you know, good friends with Abby too, presumably. She was the last person to see them alive. You know, I mean, she at least puts herself as being the last person to see them alive. And she admitted to talking to the Anthony Schatz account when, you know, the girls are reported missing. But you know, if we don't look at her phone, which nobody got a chance to do, or it got lost conveniently, but it's never been analyzed to see whether or not she was actually conversing with Anthony Schatz long before then, right? So, and she admitted to catfishing Libby as a prank. Like, her hair was found at the crime scene, and one of them wrapped around Abby's fingers. And the FBI, they interviewed her between 5 and 7 times. I still don't know the correct number, but 5 times is like, is 4 times too many, right? So, and then who is the guy? He's been on a lot. He's the CIA analyst, Sergio, the CIA analyst guy, has flagged Kelsey's statements as being deceptive or omitting information, not readily forthcoming. So all of those things are problems, right? Like, why wasn't this first and center of the investigation? Like, you should have been going over the family's every single digital movement, every single everything. And instead, I think they're releasing, like, phones or tablets or whatever back to the family. And all of those things are connected. Apple accounts are all connected to each other. So you can go in and kind of manipulate things on different devices, too. Which is just crazy. Like, everybody knows the first thing you do is you basically quarantine the family and keep an eye on them and confiscate all of their digital devices. So, and there are stories, there's cracks in the family stories, like Becky Patty saying, they have our girls. What does that mean? Who's they? And that was the night they were reported missing, so Like, you think they're still alive. Like, how would you know that before the bodies are found, too? Like, and Anna Williams, like, Iva Apophis points out, I think Prof includes in some of his videos, too, but Iva Apophis really drives home the Anna Williams putting an emphasis on that afternoon when she's referring to the afternoon of Saturday, the 11th. That afternoon. Now, again, you know, just by itself, probably not anything, but with everything else, and there's a ton of things, yeah, I mean, it makes sense to me. So, to me, and I think to a lot of people, this looks like an online grooming situation that went wrong, because we still don't know about geocaching and who all the girls that were getting talked to in that town by Anthony Shots or similar accounts. Because nobody did a forensic investigation of that shit. So, anyway, yeah. I need to write better when I do this. Okay, here's the bigger issue. Okay, so the grooming situation most likely went wrong, and the biggest issue is, you know, not necessarily like the events leading up to it, but what happened after. The reason where we are right now with the deductions that we have is because of what came after. And all of this is a giant cover-up. So there is a multi-layered cover-up. The first layer begins with the family, because we don't have any of their digital evidence, right? And they locked that narrative so hardcore onto that unseasonably warm Monday, you know, the day off school. It's so sing-songy fairy tale, it's kind of gross, right? But that's how you remember things when it's you know, it was an unusually warm day, February day. So, anyway, yeah, so the first layer was definitely the family, okay? And, you know, they helped get it cemented in with people like Gray Hughes, who I still think did do a good job with that reenactment, and did a good job with, you know, the actual layout of, you know, his graphics and everything, but he did kind of fall victim to buying everything that they said, because, I mean, without digital evidence to back it, and the family shouldn't have been talking anyway, right? Especially if, like, but they were cleared right away. So, I mean, again, yeah, chicken or the egg. So, the first layer was the family's version of events of Coverup. Second layer of Coverup was law enforcement. And they doubled down by pushing the bridge guy photo and video as if it was unquestionable, you know? And, like, part of your brain is like, yeah, it's literally video. It's literally audio. Like, duh. But we still don't know the metadata connected to it. And, like, you know, discrepancies or whatever. You know, we need smart people to obviously look at it. You don't want me looking at it. But there's obviously stuff about the video that leaves many, many questions, right? So, the video could have been manipulated. It could be misrepresented. Like I was saying, it could be taken from, you know, one day when all the girls were out going across the bridge on probably November or December, you know, a non-snowy November or December in 2016. And Bridge Guy could be Mike Patty. It could be anybody, right? It's just like, I would throw it out. I would throw out the video, or I would go about it without the video. Just, not telling anybody how to do their jobs, but, like, if you can't find the digital evidence to confirm that it's a real video taken at that real time, then it's null and void to me. So the third layer is like the most baffling, right? It's from outsiders and commentators who've amplified the noise and the Bridge Guy and the canon and the sing-song fairy tale-ness of it all. And it's keeping the public laser focused on a lone predator story and shutting down alternative explanations. And people are getting harassed to no end for simply not agreeing. And I know it's like, welcome to the internet, but there's an added level when, people are sending things to your home, right? And yeah, okay, fine, meme, death threats, whatever, but like now you're finding personal photos and putting them in YouTube shorts or making YouTube video, like music videos of people, and then trying to swat people, get people swatted. So it's escalated, and it needs to simmer the fuck down, because good people have ended themselves, guys. I know nobody wants to talk about it. Maybe even bad people have ended themselves, but good people have ended themselves over this kind of stuff. And why? Because they have a different opinion? Because I don't agree with you? Because I'm asking you to be accountable for shit that you've done? I mean, that's why we have laws, in the real world. Like, you do something bad, you step out of line, there's a law in place that'll put you in your place, right? So 3 layers of cover-up: the family, law enforcement, and now the, I guess, influencers, commenters, YouTube channelers, all the Earths, like all of them. Yeah, it's exhausting. So now, if we think about this, because I know some people are going to be like, oh, you're blaming the family. I'm not saying the family had anything to do with the murders, but I do think they know exactly what happened and why, and they helped cover it up for some reason. And if it was as simple as Kelsey got angry and raged out and killed her sister and her sister's friend, why would a whole town and a whole online community have to go to bat for one girl losing her shit? I don't think that's the case. Yeah, I mean, it could be, but I doubt it. All right. I don't know if, I don't think Kelsey is some untouchable, I don't even know, not to be touched person, but I just can't imagine that Kelsey could do that, and then have everybody go in and cover it up. I do think that Kelsey could know exactly what happened and maybe have been there. Maybe have helped stage the scene. Helped deposit clothing to make it look like the timeline that they're trying to make it look like. And why? Probably because there's something scary. If there's a whole town and there's law enforcement and there's a ton of people online, like, chances are this is an operation of sorts, right? It's probably a scary operation if it's a whole town staying quiet and doing the bidding of being quiet and, playing within, the parameters that they're allowed to play in. But, if it's scary, and it's probably capable of putting out payment. If you have this many people online being this abusive and this, dedicated to their abuse, to abusing, I should say, they are hardcore. Yeah, so I think it's a network. I think it's a scary network of something. I don't know what. And I think it is definitely, capable of paying people to do its propaganda. So, let's see. Yeah, I don't think that what happened to Abby and Libby was a prank that went wrong. Even though we do know that Libby and her friends admitted to catfishing Libby, which is just weird. Just weird. Okay, anyway. But, so it's not a prank. I think it points back to online exploitation, because you already have the lure there, right? You already have Anthony Shots there. You already have the mercenary connected to Fouts, and mercenary is probably an informant. Kagan Klein was probably an informant if he wasn't arrested for 3 years, but they knew he had a ton of CP on his phone. It's why? Why? No, it's because there's some sort of organization or network or whatever. So, yeah. There's most likely people inside the community with ties to grooming, drugs, or organized crime. And so exposing that would have been an enormous fallout, especially if so much of the economy is tied up in it. And I do think there are extensive money laundering operations that go on there. You probably can get away with that easier in rural areas with big plots of land and whatnot. But, it's interesting. So, but I can see if people want to protect the narrative, it would be also to protect institutions, right? And I think that's why the murders had to be framed as something ritualistic, with staged bodies, with cryptic imagery, with the bridge guy, the boogeyman. And if the public thought this was ritual or occult, they wouldn't be looking at the online accounts and peer circles where the danger really was. And ritual staging would be an excellent distraction to take away from the digital evidence trail, right? So, if this was only about a lone killer, why did it take so many layers of narrative control through the family, through law enforcement, through outsiders, online? And why did professionals risk so much to hold that line? And again, this doesn't automatically mean that the family or law enforcement committed the murders, but it does mean they shaped and controlled the story from the very beginning. And that's exactly why the FBI needs to dig deeper into the timeline, online accounts, and connections between insiders, because until those layers of cover-up are peeled back, the truth about Delphi will stay buried. And it's not just about Abby and Libby anymore, guys. This whole thing, whatever this is, it is a cartel, much like what is going on in northern Kentucky. And by cartel, I do not mean like a foreign gang. I mean like, it's like any organized network inside of a lawfully run state, like a mafia. It's like, yeah, an organized network inside a state that cooperates to control markets, narratives, power structures, and suppresses, like, you know, the typical transparency and competition and oversight. It's always going to do what's best for it, the cartel. So that's exactly what we're looking at, guys. I am not suicidal, okay? I like life, even though it gets tiresome sometimes. But, yeah, I'm a very happy living person. I don't want to die. And I don't think I am in danger per se, but I'm putting that out there. So, yeah, that's basically all I wanted to say. Like, I'll have another presentation on online radicalization, because eventually we're going to get to, like, the cyber egoist element of this, because there is a huge part of this that's online, right? And, but yeah, that probably won't be for another week. But I did happen to get out quite a bit of content I didn't expect to get out, which is good. But this I had to get out because, yeah, this next upcoming week is going to be kind of like the week from hell, or, you know, the week where I get a lot of stuff done. So, yeah, that's about it. Knocked out 2 things. Got the message out about, you know, the online agitators who would probably reveal some good information if anybody was willing to look into them, on, you know, the nature of this crime and cartel and network, or whatever the fuck we're calling it. And then, what else? Oh, and the timeline. But, yeah, we all know the timeline is bogus. But, yeah, we need to start making this more of a mainstream idea that, like, the timeline doesn't fucking matter. Like, do the groundwork, go get some forensic digital evidence. That's what needs to happen. That's what needed to happen since the beginning. So, yeah, I'm happy to be done with this. But yeah, thank you again for watching. I know I am a slow and long talker, so I recommend putting this at 1.25 speed. I probably should have said that from the beginning. But yeah, everybody have a good night, and I will talk to you hopefully soon.